So we're back to the idea of two functions intersecting, and we need to find out, do they get to the same place, and do they get to that place at the same time? Well, let's take a look at the graph. So one is sine of 2 theta, and I'm just going to go to the graph real quick. Can I see it? Okay, so that's working. It's making one of those 4-leaf clovers. It's doing it rather slowly, but it's doing it. And then go to y equals and put tangent of theta. And do they intersect? So it looks like they intersected right there, right there, right there, right there, right there, and right there, and right there. But did they get to those places at the same time? So to find out, I just need to change one of these numbers, and that will force the calculator to regraph them. So they got there at the same time. I wasn't watching on that one. I don't know, that was close. Their origin, it looks like right there, it looks like it. And so it sort of looks like they are intersecting. Of course, can't trust the calculator 100%, but you can trust the math. So this one is set equal to r, and this one is set equal to r. So that means that we set them equal to each other. So when does sine of 2 theta equal tangent of theta? You're right. The next thing to do is use trig identities. So for sine of 2 theta, that's 2 sine of theta times cosine of theta. And for tangent, we could use sine divided by cosine. Next, I want to get rid of this fraction right here, so I'm going to multiply both sides by cosine of theta. So the left side will have 2 sine of theta times cosine squared. And once these cancel, there's just sine of theta on this side. Now set it equal to 0 by subtracting sine of theta from both sides. So it already had 2 sine of theta times cosine squared, and then subtract sine of theta from both sides, and now it's set equal to 0. So notice that this has sine and this has sine, so we could factor out sine of theta. And what would be left? 2 cosine squared minus 1. After you factor it, set each factor equal to 0. So when does sine of theta equal 0? When does 2 cosine squared theta minus 1 equal 0? Well, for this one, you could just look at the graph of sine. It equals 0 right here, and right here. But on the graph, 0 and 2 pi will be the same place, so we really got theta equals 0 and theta equals pi. Let me check and see if those are right. So if you go to trace and you plug in 0. Now, oh, that glare. Sorry. So you could see right here, and they do both go through the origin. Right now, it's on the blue function, and it's going through 0, 0. So if I push the up arrow, it's now on the red function, and the red function is going through 0, 0. So that is an actual intersection point. So that's going to be one of the answers. Theta equals 0, and then that is the point 0, 0. Then another answer that I got right up yonder is pi. And if you trace and you plug in pi, that's actually the same place, 0, 0. And if you change to the red one, so press the up arrow, it says, oh, it just put an estimation. Hold on, let me put pi. There you go. It's 0, 0. So that's really the same information. All right, now to finish it up, we just need to finish this. So add 1 to both sides. It'll say 2 cosine squared theta is equal to 1. Then divide both sides by 2. So now it equals 1/2. Then take the square root of both sides, making sure that you put plus or minus the square root. And the square root of 1 is 1, so it gives us plus or minus the square root of 1 over 2. And then do cosine inverse of 1 divided by the square root of 2. That looks like pi over 4. Divide that by pi, and then, is that a fraction? It's 1/4 of pi. So you'd get theta equals pi over 4. Now do the cosine inverse of negative 1 divided by square root of 2. And that looks like 3/4 of pi. So divide that by pi, change it to a fraction, and it's 3/4. All right, go back to the graph, press trace, and see, does pi divided by 4 look like it works? So it looks like it works, but again, you have to see, if I change to the red function, is it going to be the same? So use the up arrow and put pi divided by 4, and those are the same numbers. So we get theta equals pi over 4, and then that would be 0.707, 0.707. What about 3/4 of pi? So 3 pi divided by 4. So that looks correct. So that would be when x is 0.707 and y is negative 0.707. Well, if this is 1 pi over 4 and 3 pi over 4, I'll bet you the next one is 5 pi over 4 using odd numbers. So that looks correct. Theta equals 5 pi over 4, and then it's negative 0.707 and negative 0.707. And if I go down to the blue function and put 5 pi over 4, it's the same numbers. And then finally, the last one would be using odd 7 pi over 4. So 7 pi over 4. There's that last one. So that's when x is negative 0.707 and y is positive 0.707.